Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 23rd day of September, 2019. Well, I hope you all had a wonderful weekend. It's been the weekend of Mabon, or the autumn equinox. It would actually happened at 12:50 this morning. So if any of you were out there working magic at that time, I was. I was outside at a crossroads portion of my property where an actual crossroads happens. And I actually put a post up the other day, Autumn Equinox Magic, on the blog over at imsteppingaside.com. And I explained what I was going to do there. So hopefully, if you saw that, hopefully you joined in and bring a little bit of unity back to people and rebalance things. I did it right at 12:50 in that minute, and the minute of the equinox, beginning at the exact moment of the equinox, so that was cool. It wasn't too cold last night. I think it was like in the high 40s, so it wasn't that bad. I wasn't out there that long, so it had been raining, so anyhow, but it had stopped when I got to do that, so that was fun. So let's see, what else is on the blog? Okay, the Autumn Equinox Magic post. Also, the weekly Rune and Moon went up. So that's there if you want to check in on that. And also, I also did a post on hawthorn. And I went and I picked some more hawthorn berries. I think we're going to make some hawthorn wine too, so that should be fun. My husband's been making some apple wine from our apple trees. I think he's got 4 gallons of that or something going, I'm not sure. I think that's what I saw. So that should be interesting. We've not done that yet. We've made raspberry and blackberry and dandelion. And then I think he did a combination of blackberry and raspberry, but we've not done any hawthorn yet. So that's going to be cool. And we haven't done any apple. So he's going to do some hawthorn though, I think. He'll probably do 1 gallon of that only. I don't think that we have that many berries. I mean, we got quite a few trees, though. They're pretty loaded, so maybe we would. I don't know. It takes between 2 and 3 pounds according to the recipe. So, and I have just about almost that now that I just gathered. Probably a little over 2 pounds that I just gathered. So, and I was just going to dry them. You know, I've already done my tincturing, and so I don't need it for that. I was just going to dry them for tea later on. You know, but. Then I Googled and I told him, and he's like, oh my God, really? So, anyhow, Moon's in Cancer in the 9th house, so seclusion is in order if you're feeling stressed today, if emotions are in flux. The 9th house is kind of about expanding your mind, metaphysics, and things like that. So, you know, if you're feeling stressed, you know, go and, you know, read a book or something. Just sort of take some time away and focus on some inner work. Sort of aligned with Vulcan. Vulcan's in retrograde right now, and is also in Libra, along with the Sun, Venus, and Mercury. And so with Vulcan, what they think about Vulcan, particularly if it's in retrograde, Vulcan's about breaking through things. And I think fire, the fire element, and just breaking through difficulties and obstacles. And so if you're thinking about that in terms of just the regular route it travels, it's one thing. But then when it goes retrograde, what it's really talking about is breaking through all the things within that need working on. So, you know, having to do with balance and partnerships and things like that. It's also in the 11th house. Along with everything else, everything's in the 11th house in Libra right now. Everything there, the Sun, let's see, what did I say? Sun, Venus, Vulcan, and Mercury. So we're talking diplomacy today and balance in relationships and all of that. And also Uranus in the 6th house is asking us to kind of go with the flow a little bit and just sort of accept change as it comes and don't judge it too much. That's where I think the diplomacy of Mercury and Libra comes in, and also, you know, in the 11th house itself. But Uranus, of course, is in the 6th. And one thing that it mentioned that I wanted to share is if you think you might have a health issue, don't ignore it today. So, make that doctor's appointment or herbalist's appointment or naturopath's appointment or chiropractic appointment, whatever it is, that it might be, and however you want to deal with it, make the appointment today and do that. Don't ignore it. So I think that covers everything. We're doing pretty well on time here. I've shuffled quite a bit. Oh, if it's your first time here, welcome. If you have come back, thank you so much. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that, and subscribe to my blog too if you want. I don't put you on any lists, so don't worry about that. I just, it's bad enough. I just started running ads on the thing, on the blog, and I hate doing that. So I'm just not into the other, putting people on lists and sending you stuff and all of that. I don't do that. That's not my thing. So I'm just here and on the blog and on social media. You can interact or not, whatever you want to do, but it's nothing you have to do. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get started. And although I do hope you subscribe to the blog and to this YouTube channel, that'd be really cool. So let's draw our first card. And again, if you haven't been here before, I'll just go over quickly what I do. I do this randomly, so I'm going to take the 13th card each time. I'm going to draw between 3 and 4 cards. The 4th one is just if I feel like I need one. Then I'm going to go ahead and reach into the rune bag and let the runes fall through my fingers. And when the last one is there, that's our rune for the day. And then I'm going to close out with creating a geomancy rune to try to draw it all together. And again, I do this randomly. I don't, when I do my regular readings, I just lay cards out. But I like this to be as random as possible. So anyhow, let's get started and take our first card. Well, we have temperance, moderation. The 14th card of the major arcana, you're looking at a 5 energy. We have a 5 energy today, being the 23rd day of the month. That's a 5. It reduces to 5, so a 5 energy. So change, fulfillment, protection, safety. But here we have moderation. You see, the angel here is balancing fire with water. He's got 1 foot on the ground, 1 foot in the water. Spirit is implied, of course. I'm going to put the cards down and, of course, drop the temperance card on the floor. Let's see, where can I put these so that they won't fall? And then I have to try to figure out where are all my cards. Over here, you see the mountains? You see two peaks? You see the pathway, and you see the sun rising. That's a familiar theme in tarot. It rises on the new day, basically. We have a new path that's found in balance. It's a perfect card for Libra. We're in Libra right now. And so this is the card of balance. Balanced energy exchange within and without. Let's look at the card again. We see the glyph for fire on his chest, or her chest, or its chest. We see the sun adorning the angel's hair there. The light expanding for all around its head. The light of source energy, the light of spirit. We see yellow irises over there. Purity. But the pathway going through 2 peaks or an archway or maybe through like an opening in a rock wall or a window or 2 pillars, anything that shows the middle path or a new way or a new direction. But in this case, I think it's really talking about balance. It's going right down the middle there. Awakening. So maybe we've had some issues. I mean, this now tarot can either deal with, the person itself and, just the person's general surroundings and general life, or it can deal with society. And right now we have got a huge thing going on, at least in our country, with trying to basically bully another foreign country and holding hostage the military aid we're going to give them, so that they'll go and investigate an opponent in the next election, which is illegal. It looks like, the funny thing is, what generally happens in situations like this is when you've got crimes being committed, and they've been being committed, it's pretty clear now, that this whole thing is just one big criminal enterprise. Well, what happens is eventually, especially this guy, he just trips himself up every time he speaks, every time he tweets, he confesses to everything, right? And supposedly then it just makes it all okay. Well, no. A crime is a crime is a crime, folks. And this is likely going to get this guy impeached. So, and it should. It should. We can't have somebody like that in office. Good Lord. You can't buy someone's. In other words, find something, and if you can't find it, make it up. That's really what's going on here. So, what we're seeing here with the awakening with the sun, I think that things are coming into alignment here. We can look at temperance, and we can think moderation and all of that, but I think that with respect to our awareness, we are blending will with emotion here. Think about it from that standpoint here, blending will with emotion, fire with water, okay? We can be emotional about all of this and hang on to what we believe about somebody, but then eventually the truth will out. You see how that works? Well, that's what we have here. So we're going to be balancing truth with what we want to believe. We need to believe the truth. And that's where we need to tamp down the emotions of it. We need to have a more moderate view or reaction to it. We need to listen. We need to allow. We need to drop resistance to what we're hearing and just open our ears and listen and see what's coming out. Okay, that's basically what I think. If this is about the greater thing that's going on, then I think that's really what it's telling us to do. Now, if this is about simply bringing emotions in balance with will, perhaps you have issues with that, where maybe you manipulate, in fact, to get your way or something like that. Now we're in the sign of Libra. The sun has moved into Libra, and we are ready to start pursuing issues of balance and considering those things and trying to find alignment where maybe there wasn't before. So whether it's about aligning belief with truth, or it's about aligning, coming back together with each other in all of this, because there's been a tremendous amount of division and harm that's been done to this country. And if it's all been predicated on lies, just to put money in people's pockets, well, good heavens. Why would you do that to us? Why would you do that to any of us? But that's likely what's gone on here. So I don't know. So we're talking temperance, and it could mean a lot of different things, really. It could mean, moderation in our behavior, but it could be also bringing things into balance. And of late, the last few years, here's the thing. When someone tells you, believe only what I say and not what you see or experience or read or anything else, and that if they disagree with me, they're the fake news. Well, you want to keep heading down that path, go ahead, but I think you're going to be ultimately going it alone. So let's take our next card. And whether this has anything to do with what we're collectively experiencing, or if you're just experiencing that in your life, this is the month where you start to bring things into alignment again, particularly before winter, So, I don't know. Here we have the Eight of Swords. Swords is about the air element. But like always, these cards employ other things as well. Here you see the water element. You also see earth. You see the mountain peak rising up behind her there. And you see a castle sort of created from the top there. It's standing tall there. She's bound. This has been an upsetting experience, though, because you see the red soppy sand, and she's dressed in red or orange or whatever color you want to call that, kind of a reddish orange. So you have some Mars energy there, some fire energy. So there's your fire implied in this. She's surrounded by swords. So she's either surrounded by her own thoughts or the chatter of other people. Too much coming in on her, though, so she felt the need to bind herself up from all of it, to go within, to not allow anything else in. She's blindfolded. She's got her back to everything. So she's doing basically what I recommended we do here. Now, sometimes this is viewed as getting in the way of oneself, but given that it's an 8, I've sort of started to interpret this differently. I think that given the element of the 8 energy there, you're talking about higher self-awareness. So is she really getting in the way of her own thoughts, or is she trying to step aside from the whole thing and just give herself time to think and to go within, and to seek counsel from higher self, from spirit? Ignore all of the projection around her. All of this is an illusion. It's a projection consciousness of the Creator. We all agree to it because as aspects of the Creator, when we're here in form and we're experiencing our lives and creating our lives as we do, because we create them, we either agree to some of the stuff that we think is happening to us, but likely we've agreed to that before we incarnate, as part of some soul agreement, that we're going to experience on behalf of someone else. So just be aware of that. When things are happening to you, you either chose that thing to happen, that sort of experience yourself, or you're here for someone else. So don't judge it, as bad or good. Just judge it as, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and if it doesn't feel good to you, move away from it. It's really that simple. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than that. If it's not comfortable, move away from it. Maybe that's what you were supposed to do. And if you stay stuck in it, maybe you're not serving that other person that you did this for, or you're not serving yourself. But I think with the 8 energy, the eight of swords is perhaps something that is a little more intentional and a little less about what you're doing to yourself to get in the way of your own thinking. There's higher self involved in the 8. And I just think that there's a greater awareness of the unified consciousness contained within that. And so I think that we are turning our back to ego, we're turning our back to the illusion, to the projection, and we're going within and we're finding truth. And I think that's what temperance is asking us to do. Let's do a third card. Well, we have the Tower. Absolutely. The 16th card of the major arcana, you're looking at a 7 energy, divinity, magic, balance. It even looks kind of like the scales, doesn't it? With the Tower being the resting point, the 4 number within the 7, you got 3 and 3, and then the 4th position it makes 7 basically. I don't think I'm going to do a 4th card here. I don't think I have to. The Tower is a very positive card. It means transition and change. Out with the old, in with the new. Getting rid of what no longer serves. I think it's the result of going within and letting spirit inform the situation here. In your awareness. Change needs to happen. Massive change. This is not insignificant, but we're ready for it. We're prepared for it. We're willing to accept it. Because without it, we don't move forward. Let's do a rune. Well, that's interesting. So we have 5 and 8's 13. So that's a 4. And we have a 7, so that's 11. So we have a master number 11. for illumination on a Monday. So that's the numerology for the card. Not too bad, is it? Have a master number. Well, here we have Ewas. I'm going to do a little drawing. 19th rune of the Elder Futhark. That would be 9 and 1 is 10, so a 1 energy of new beginnings. Here you see Laguz forward and reversed in it. You also see Kenaz with the light coming down from spirit, or actually light pointing up to spirit, but you could say that it's pointing toward form. It's kind of like a vortex coming into manifestation. The runes are interesting because they can include, Isa's also included in here, but they can include a variety, they can actually be a bind rune in and of themselves because there's multiple runes you can find in them. So this is Ewas. And there was one thing I wanted to check on the meaning of Ewas. I wanted to double check here. I believe it's the water element, given that you have Laguz in it. It comes right before Manaz, which is self and society, basically. But this is about partnership. And there was one thing that I wanted to find here. Abrupt change, water element. Who you should work with. This is representative of Odin's 8-legged horse Sleipnir, which is probably a spacecraft. Partnership, marriage, pull towards you. Astral travel, the Merkaba. I guess it wasn't on this one, or maybe it was in a different. No, it's not on that side either. I don't know where I wrote it down. Maybe I wrote it down in the grimoire, the bigger one. I probably did. But anyway, this is basically about partnership. And of course, given, that now that we're in Libra, and so, we're basically dealing with partnership issues, and which is essentially what we're dealing with here in the reading. So there needs to be a transformation in terms of partnership. It needs to be filled with allowing, with Laguz. So you see Laguz. You see it both forward and reversed. So you're really talking about balanced relationships here with others in terms of allowing, not having a bunch of conflict. You also have Kenaz, which I'll put this up in the corner, how it should be drawn, and then how it's traditionally drawn. And then down below, I'll show you how it is drawn. So up here, you have how it's normally drawn. And then down here, you can see it right up here is Kenaz. And you can almost see it as a vortex coming down from spirit and forming the whole relationship process. You also have Isa. You also have the single line Isa, which is, again, the 11th rune of the Elder Futhark. Again, master number for illumination. It's about the inner stillness, alignment with source presence. So you can see a lot of different energies go into making up the runes, basically. And with this, again, we're talking partnership. So everything is really aligning well. I can't wait to see what the geomancy rune does. Hopefully it'll be something like conjunctio or something like that for joining and union, or maybe albus for wisdom. I don't know. We'll see. So let's see what we have here. Oh, new path, new direction, via. So get that out here again. If you've never seen geomancy done, it can be done a variety of ways. Geomancy can involve this type of divination, or it can involve pendulum work or ley lines or what have you. But the idea is that whether it's with pendulums or this, you're using earth energies to provide the divination energy. And with this one, we're talking via, which is all active principles. It's all single dots. We put this in the order of fire, air, water, and earth, similar to like an I Ching hexagram. Only in this case, instead of 6 lines that are either solid or broken, we're talking 4 dots, which are either going to be a single dot or 2 dots. And so the 2 dots would be a passive influence. A single dot would be an active one. And this is via. And what this means is way or new direction. Wow. I have to tell you, this also sort of aligns with the weekly Rune and Moon. So I don't know. I think that maybe energies are coming into alignment. Either we're experiencing some transition ourselves and some inner transformation ourselves vis-a-vis partnerships and how we relate to others. Or this is actually dealing with what we're learning now about how this individual who is in the Oval Office is choosing to interact and relate to other people. He's doing it in at least what sounds to me like a mobster-like fashion. Yeah, you do for me and I'll do for you. Well, it's an odd sort of transactional relationship that he has with people. And it's really not keeping things in balance. It's will and emotion, sure, like we have with temperance. And I'm going to use him as an example because this could apply to us in our daily lives as well if we interact with people this way, or if, we're on the receiving end of it. But in a transactional relationship, will and emotions are used. So is intellect, but intellect in terms of manipulation, right? And emotions are used because you want to make people feel fear. So do as I say, or this will happen. So that's the nature of that type of a quid pro quo relationship. So if you need help, like Congress has authorized this military aid, well, unless you find dirt on my opponent that I'm most worried about, I ain't going to give it to you. Right? You get nothing from me. But this isn't about him. This is a country. This is all of us. He's just a figurehead who's supposed to be doing what we're telling him to do, except that he's not. Instead, it's all these little relationships he's got to put money in his pocket, right? Can't do that when you're president. So you can see how but you can see how that as the example of it's the most visible example that I can think of what a transactional relationship type of experience looks like. It's never on an even keel. It's never something where, say, I remember one time, this lady I knew, this family we knew, we decided to I had a couple cows, okay, and I was going to butcher them both, going to keep one, going to sell the other or something, right? So they didn't have enough space at their place. They didn't have any pasture, so they couldn't really grow a cow very well. They could do it with hay, but it got to be real costly, and so they didn't. And so we grew them their cow that year. And what we did is I did a barter arrangement. And we did the value. We valued the cow I think the cow was valued at like $1,300 or $1,350 or something like that. She grew pigs, she grew chickens, we had both gone and done cherry picking, and she had done canning. We traded the value down to the very nickel, right? So they got a cow and I got all this other stuff, right? And it was perfect. The value, I couldn't have, it was the most exciting barter arrangement I have ever done in my life. I have to tell you, and our husbands are just sitting there going, I can't believe this is happening this way. We're literally writing it all down, but you can see that's an example of a transactional relationship in that moment, but it's one that's based on fairness and balance and that everybody gets what they want. Now, had there been something where I said, well, okay, that isn't actually, you're actually getting more monetary, but I'm getting something over there that I really need. So for that, then that made that, even though it might not have been dollar-wise maybe worth as much, this didn't happen on this case, but it did happen on a different thing where we were trading back and forth with these folks. And it might not have been perfectly even, but it was something we needed, or it was something they needed, so it had more value. It carried more weight. So it doesn't have to necessarily be what my friend and I did, getting everything down monetarily. It can just be the idea of worth, what it's worth to you, basically. That type of transactional relationship is one thing. But when you're lording something over somebody, and if you don't do this, then I'm going to hurt you, that's a very different situation. And I think that it's the one that the temperance is talking about here. Okay? And we need a new day. We need a new experience. We need a new awakening here. And with an 11 energy today here with the reading, we have that, don't we? We have the energy of new beginnings with Ewas, not to be confused with I was, but Ewas. There's just an I in there that's different. But anyway, I was is as above, so below. It's the 13th rune. But here we're talking about balanced energy exchange in the same way with Gebo, only in this case, it's a water element rune versus a fire element rune. So less will involved and only a little bit, maybe will from spirit. That be the only place the will is coming from, basically. The rest of it is coming from inner stillness and alignment and source presence and allowing things to unfold between us in a way that's loving and positive and flowing, right? No restriction, right? It reminds me of, what was it? Was it, Uranus in the 6th house today aligns with that energy as well. Go with the flow. Allow change to take place. Don't judge, Be in a positive flow with people today. And then you'll be surprised just how much it's in the 6th house. So we're talking routine, right? Daily routine. Also health. But allow that to inform your whole day. That need to flow instead of the need to resist. So, and then we take via a new direction, don't we? Than where we've been going. And again, we're talking also about illumination. Things are coming out today. People are standing up. They're rising up. They're saying, oh, no, you can't do this. Not in this country, not in our name. So, if you're on the other side of that, drop resistance. Listen. Allow the truth to flow. Allow yourself to see what everyone else sees. And unfortunately, you're going to have to make a different change. And that's just the way that is. And sometimes change is abrupt. With Ewas, it can be. And it may feel like that right now as more comes out. But my friends, we cannot have someone in office that trades our country for a 20 hanging out of his back pocket. Right? Check out the blog. Thank you so much for coming by. I appreciate it. Check out the blog too, though, and click subscribe there. I'd love you to do that. I'd love you to do that here and come back and join our Tarot and Rune family. Be sure to put comments in if you like. If you have another type of interpretation to this, share that as well, because we're all here to learn, and I don't have all of the answers. I simply have my own perspective here on this, and I try to be as balanced as possible and give all different sides, but again, this is my reading, and so I'm going to give my view on things. If you have something else, it could be something that another person may need, right? That just sort of opens everything up for them. So please do put your own ideas down and see if we can't get a conversation going about what all this is and how it can inform and hopefully improve our lives. So anyhow, thank you again for coming by. We'll see you tomorrow. Be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.